Hello everyone, welcome back to my B&B Today spoiler channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. The moment Steffy Forrester threw her wedding ring at Finn, she knew something inside her had finally snapped. For weeks she had tried to convince herself that her marriage could survive another crisis. She had tried to believe that Finn understood why Sheila Carter was not just another problem in their lives. To Steffy, Sheila represented every nightmare she had fought to escape. So when Steffy discovered that Finn had secretly traveled to Europe with Sheila, something deeper than anger took over. Finn insisted that Sheila had changed. He insisted she deserved a chance. Steffy heard only one thing: Finn had chosen to give Sheila another chance without even telling his wife. That betrayal followed her all the way back to Los Angeles. She sat alone during the flight, staring at the empty space beside her. Her wedding ring was no longer on her finger. She kept replaying the confrontation in her mind, remembering Finn's expression when the ring landed in his hand. For the first time, Steffy wondered if her marriage had been damaged beyond repair. To broken relationship, she returned to Forrester Creations. She walked into another broken relationship. Carter Walton was struggling too. Daphne Rose Walton had made a decision Carter desperately did not want to accept. Her fertility diagnosis had convinced her she could never give Carter the family they had imagined together. Carter had tried to reassure her. He talked about IVF, about other possibilities. Most importantly, he told her he loved her and refused to let their future be defined by one devastating diagnosis. Daphne didn't believe him. She believed Carter would eventually resent her. And instead of waiting for that moment, she decided to leave. Paris became her escape. Carter watched the woman he loved walk away, knowing there was nothing he could say to make her stay. That was the strange situation waiting for Steffy when she arrived back in Los Angeles. Two shattered relationships, two completely different betrayals, and one unexpected connection. Steffy found Carter at Forrester Creations later that day. He was standing alone, looking through paperwork without actually reading any of it. "You look terrible," Steffy said quietly. Carter glanced up. "So do you." For the first time since leaving Finn, Steffy almost smiled. Almost. She walked closer and asked what happened. Carter didn't give her the polished version. He told her the truth. Daphne was leaving because she believed she wasn't enough for him. She believed her inability to have a child naturally had destroyed their future. Steffy understood more than Carter expected. "You can't make someone believe they're worthy," she told him. "Sometimes they have to believe it themselves." Carter looked at her. "And you?" Steffy hesitated. "I don't know what I believe anymore." That answer changed the atmosphere between them. Carter knew Steffy had always been strong, the woman who fought for her family, defended her marriage, protected her children, and refused to let anyone walk over her. But standing in front of him now, she didn't look invincible. She looked hurt. And Carter was hurting too. Neither of them planned to become each other's escape. That was what made the situation dangerous. A line neither intended to cross ladder that evening. Steffy sat alone with a drink, trying to silence the memories of Finn and Sheila. Carter joined her, carrying his own drink and his own disappointment. Neither mentioned romance. Neither mentioned marriage. They simply talked. For the first time in a long time, Steffy felt understood. Carter didn't defend Finn. He didn't tell her she was overreacting. He didn't ask her to forgive Sheila. He simply listened. That was exactly what Steffy needed, and Carter needed the same thing. The longer they talked, the more the pain between them began to feel strangely familiar. Steffy looked at Carter and realized something she wasn't prepared to admit. She wasn't thinking about Finn anymore. And Carter wasn't thinking about Daphne. Not for that moment. The silence between them suddenly felt heavier than their words. Carter lowered his glass. "Maybe we should stop." Steffy looked at him. "Stop what?" He didn't answer. Because both of them already knew. They were standing dangerously close to a line neither had intended to cross, and once that line disappeared, there might be no easy way back. To people, grieving to futures. Next morning, Steffy woke up determined to convince herself that nothing had changed. She told herself the conversation with Carter had simply been two friends supporting each other. Nothing more. No betrayal, no romance, no mistake, but memories don't disappear simply because people refuse to name them. Carter was thinking about the same night. He remembered how Steffy had looked when she talked about Finn, the anger in her voice when she described Sheila. More importantly, he remembered the moment her anger disappeared and she admitted she was scared. Carter had never expected Steffy to show him that side of herself, and he couldn't stop thinking about it. Meanwhile, Finn was desperately trying to reach Steffy. Calls went unanswered. Messages remained unread. Finn knew he had made a terrible mistake, but he still believed his intentions had been good. He wanted to believe that giving Sheila a chance didn't mean choosing Sheila over Steffy. Unfortunately, Steffy no longer cared about his intentions. She cared about what his actions had done to her trust. When she arrived at Forrester Creations again, Carter was there. Their eyes met. For several seconds, neither said anything. Then Steffy broke the silence. About last night, Carter nodded. I know. We were both upset. I know. We weren't thinking clearly. I know that too. Steffy looked away. Then we should forget it. Carter took a breath. Can you? She looked back at him. That question frightened her because she already knew the answer. No, she couldn't forget it. Not because something dramatic had happened, but because Carter had made her feel safe when she felt completely abandoned. And that was becoming harder to ignore. At the same time, Carter received another message from Daphne. She had arrived in Paris. She said she needed time. She said she couldn't continue living in a relationship where she constantly felt like a disappointment. Carter stared at the message. Steffy noticed his expression. Daphne? He nodded. What did she say? She's really gone? Steffy stepped closer. Carter. I thought if I loved her enough, she'd understand that I didn't care about the fertility issue. Maybe she believes she's protecting you. Maybe, but she isn't. Carter looked at Steffy. How do you know? Because I've been doing the same thing. Carter frowned. With Finn? Steffy nodded. I've been trying to protect myself from getting hurt again. That confession changed everything. Carter realized Steffy wasn't simply angry at Finn. She was afraid of trusting someone again. And Steffy realized Carter wasn't simply mourning Daphne. He was mourning the future he thought he was guaranteed to have. Two people were grieving futures that had suddenly disappeared. And that shared pain created something neither of them could control. The kiss. Then Carter reached for Steffy's hand. It was a simple gesture, but Steffy didn't pull away. She looked down at their hands, then back at him. This is a bad idea, she whispered. Probably. We're both vulnerable. I know. You're still married, so are you. The words hung between them. Steffy slowly pulled her hand away, but neither one walked away. That was the problem. The temptation wasn't disappearing. It was getting stronger. That evening, Finn received news that Steffy had been spending time with Carter. His fear immediately turned into jealousy. Finn knew Carter. He knew Carter wasn't someone who deliberately chased another man's wife. But Finn also knew that broken people sometimes made unexpected choices, and if Steffy had already emotionally separated herself from him, Carter might be the first person she turned toward. Finn decided he had to find her, but before he could reach her, Steffy and Carter found themselves alone again. The conversation started innocently. Then it became personal, then emotional, then dangerously quiet. Steffy admitted she missed the woman she used to be. Carter admitted he didn't know who he was without Daphne. Steffy looked into his eyes. You know what the worst part is? What? For one night, I forgot everything. Carter understood exactly what she meant. And this time, neither of them stepped away. Their lips met, brief, unexpected, and immediately filled with regret. Steffy pulled back. Oh God, Carter looked shaken. We shouldn't have done that. No, but the damage was already done. And neither of them knew that this single kiss could become the beginning of the biggest secret their lives had ever carried. Positive 80s passed, but the kiss refused to disappear. Steffy tried to return to normal. She spent time with her family. She tried to focus on work. She even considered talking to Finn, but every time Finn came close, she remembered Carter. Carter was struggling too. He couldn't stop thinking about Steffy. But there was another problem. Daphne's departure had left him questioning everything he believed about family. For so long, Carter had imagined becoming a father with Daphne. Now that dream was gone. Or so he thought. Then Steffy began feeling different. At first she blamed stress. She had barely been sleeping. She had been drinking more than usual. Her marriage was falling apart. Her emotions were unstable. So when she started feeling exhausted, she ignored it. When she became unusually sensitive to certain smells, she blamed anxiety. When she suddenly felt sick one morning, she told herself it was nothing, but eventually, even Steffy couldn't ignore what her body was telling her. She bought a pregnancy test. She stood alone in the bathroom, staring at it. Her heart began racing. The result changed everything. Positive. Steffy sat down slowly. She couldn't breathe. Her first thought was Finn, her second thought was Carter, and that second thought terrified her. She knew exactly what the timing meant. She also knew what would happen if Finn discovered she was pregnant. The marriage was already hanging by a thread. A pregnancy could either save it or destroy it completely, but there was another possibility. Carter. Steffy remembered the night they had kissed. How close they had been, how emotionally vulnerable they both were. Suddenly, the secret wasn't just about a broken marriage. It was about a child. Steffy didn't tell anyone. Not Carter. Not even her closest family. Meanwhile, Carter received a message from Daphne. She was reconsidering her decision. She wanted to know if Carter still believed they could have a future. Carter stared at the message for a long time. He still loved Daphne. But now there was something else. Something he couldn't explain. Something involving Steffy? I'm pregnant. When Steffy finally met Carter, she could barely look at him. He immediately knew something was wrong. Steffy, what happened? She tried to speak. Nothing came out. Carter stepped closer. Did Finn contact you? She shook her head. Then what is it? Steffy's eyes filled with tears. I'm pregnant. Carter froze. For several seconds, the room was completely silent. Finn's. Steffy looked at him. I don't know. Carter's face changed. He understood the implications instantly. Steffy was still legally married to Finn, Carter was still connected to Daphne, and now a baby had entered the middle of their already complicated lives. Carter slowly sat down. If there's even a chance? I know. We need a test? I know. Steffy covered her face. I never wanted this to happen. Carter looked at her. But part of you is wondering if this is the family you were never supposed to have. Steffy looked up sharply. Don't say that. Why? Because I don't know what I'm feeling, Carter nodded. He didn't push her. For once, he understood that silence was more important than answers, but their secret couldn't remain hidden forever. Losing ground, Finn began noticing changes in Steffy. She was distant, nervous, protective of her phone. And whenever he asked what was wrong, she found an excuse. Finn eventually confronted her. Is there someone else? Steffy froze. She wanted to tell him the truth, but the words wouldn't come. No, she whispered. Finn stared at her. Then why does it feel like I've already lost you? Steffy's eyes filled with tears because the truth was worse than anything Finn imagined. She hadn't simply fallen out of love with him. She was carrying a secret that could prove another man had become part of her life, and if the paternity test confirmed Carter was the father, Steffy's marriage wouldn't just be broken. It would be over, but the biggest shock was still waiting, because Carter was beginning to wonder whether Daphne's dream of having a family had actually disappeared forever. And if Steffy was carrying his child, the future he had stopped believing in might suddenly be standing right in front of him. The paternity test was ordered in secret. Steffy insisted that nobody could know. Carter agreed. But secrets rarely stay buried in Los Angeles, especially at Forrester Creations. The tension between Steffy and Carter became impossible to hide. They tried to act normal during meetings. They avoided being alone together. They stopped talking about the night they kissed. But every glance carried the same question: what if the baby is Carter's? Carter was terrified by the possibility. Yet underneath that fear was another emotion he didn't want to admit. Hope. He hated himself for feeling it. Daphne had left because she believed she couldn't give him the family he wanted. Now there was a chance that Steffy was carrying his child. It was cruel, complicated, almost impossible to believe. But it was also the kind of twist that could change everything. The confrontation. Then Daphne returned. She appeared at Forrester Creations unexpectedly. Carter turned pale when he saw her. Daphne looked at him carefully. "I came back because I realized something." Carter didn't answer. "I was wrong to run," he swallowed. "Daphne, I love you." Carter looked away. Daphne noticed something happened. Carter's silence told her more than words could. "Who is she?" Carter stared at her. "There isn't anyone." Daphne stepped closer. "Don't lie to me." Before Carter could answer, Steffy entered the room. The three of them froze. Daphne looked at Steffy, then at Carter, and suddenly she understood that something was being hidden. "What is going on?" Steffy couldn't speak. Carter stepped between them. "Daphne, this isn't the place." "Then where is the place?" Daphne's eyes filled with tears. "Tell me the truth." Steffy finally spoke. "There's something you need to know." Carter looked at her in alarm. But Steffy couldn't say it, not yet, because the test results hadn't arrived. Then Carter's phone rang. He answered. His expression changed immediately. The results were ready. He hung up slowly. Steffy stared at him. "Is it time?" Carter nodded. Daphne watched them both. She didn't understand the words, but she understood the fear. "What test?" Neither answered. Daphne stepped backward. "Carter." He closed his eyes. And in that moment, Steffy realized the secret was no longer theirs alone. The envelopeth paternity results were about to arrive. If Finn was the father, Steffy would have to decide whether her marriage could survive everything that had happened. If Carter was the father, Daphne's entire relationship with Carter would collapse in an instant. And if the result revealed what Carter secretly feared and secretly hoped for, he would suddenly become the father of Steffy's child. The future would change overnight. Carter looked at Steffy. She looked back at him. Neither spoke. Then the door opened. A confidential envelope was placed in Carter's hand. Daphne watched his fingers tighten around it. Steffy's heart pounded. Carter slowly opened the envelope. His eyes moved across the page. Then he stopped. He looked at Steffy, and the expression on his face told her everything. Steffy whispered, "Carter." He couldn't answer. Daphne demanded the truth. "Who is the father?" Carter finally lifted his eyes, and whatever was written on that paper was about to destroy one marriage, redefine another relationship, and turn an unexpected night of heartbreak into the biggest family secret Forrester Creations had seen in years. Because sometimes the most dangerous mistakes don't end with regret. Sometimes they come with a heartbeat.